Okay, welcome to Geometry Homework Check 10.4. For the first problem, we'll be using the inscribed angles theorem, which states that the inscribed angles are 1/2 the measurement of the arc. You know that since we're trying to find the measure of angle BAC, since we know that when there is an embedded angle, that the arc is 1/2 of the measure of the angle. So therefore, we would set it up as 110 equals 2 parentheses the measure of angle BA. Then we would find that the measure of angle BAC would be 55. And then for problem 2, we would for finding the value of x, we would set 2x plus 20 equals 4x to find x. So then we would subtract the 2x from the 4x, and we would get 20 to equal 2x. And therefore, we would get x to equal 10. So then to find the angles, what we would do is we would plug it into one of the equations, and we would get 4x times 10 equals 40. And then we would take 40 times 2, since we're looking for the measure of the arc and not just the angle. Then for the third problem, to find the measure of each angle, for what we do is we would set that up as 116x plus 10y would be equal to 180. And since we can put that equal to 180, we would then set the other equation equal to 180 as well, which would be 10x plus 13y would equal 180. And so then, since we know that they can both be used in the equation to set it up as equal to each other, since we know that we can use the equation to make the first number so we can cancel out the x's. So what we would do is we would get negative 80 minus negative 80x minus 50 to equal it would, well, why we're doing this is so we can get the x's canceled out, so we would get that to equal negative 900, and then we would get 80x plus 100 to equal 109 to equal 144. And then we would take that and we would simplify, and we would get 45y to equal 540, and we would get y to equal 10. Now that we have y equals 10, we can solve for x by plugging it back into one of the equations. So we'll take 16x times plus 10 parentheses 10, because we filled in for the y, to equal 180. And therefore we would get 16x plus 100 to equal 180. After subtracting, we would get 16x to equal 80. And then we would divide to get x equals 5. So then to find the measure of a, we would plug it into that equation. And to plug it into the equation, we would take for a, since it's 10y, we would take it and we would plug in 10 times 10 to get the 100, which would be the measure of a. Then since we know that measure b is 5 times 10, we would plug that in and we would get 50. We know that the measure of angle d is 16 times 5. We would get 80, sorry. And then we would take the 13 and we would times that by 10, since y is 10, and we were just plugging this in for the equation, and we would get 130. And this is the conclusion of homework check 10.4.